All right, it is 6 p.m. Let's call to order the regular session of the Measure Z Oversight Advisory Committee. Can we get a roll call?
Committee Member Alvarado. Committee Member Houtek. Committee Member Rao.
Here.
Vice Chair Underdown.
Here.
Chair Rodriguez.
Here. Okay. Let's do the flag salute. Can I get a volunteer for the flag salute, please? I'll do it. All right. Very good.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much. Next on the list is public comments. Heidi, do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
All right, no public comments. Next on the list here is the approval of the agenda as presented. Anyone like to make a motion to, can we get a second, please? Second. All right, Heidi, do we take a vote?
Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Very good. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Let's get down to the consent calendar here. It looks like, let me just make sure I got this right here. Minutes from May 28, 2026. The recommendation is to approve the minutes as presented. Do we have to take a vote on that?
Yes, we do.
All right. Can I get make a motion to accept?
Motion.
All right. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Zia Houtek, we are on consent calendar 1.1. We for the minutes.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right. Let's count down to business here. General business, FY 2025-26 Measure Z fourth quarter financial report.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, community members, members of the public, and fellow city staff. My name is Adam Jansen. I'm the Finance Manager here at the City of Wildomar, and I'm here with you tonight to present the fiscal year 25-26 Measure Z fourth quarter financial report. So as of June 30th, the fiscal year has ended for what we call either FY 25-26 or 26. So we are currently in 26-27. So even though the fiscal year has ended, though, we do recognize still expenditures in the previous fiscal year if the expenditures were incurred, as in the services were performed in that period. So the numbers, and of course the audit has not completed yet. We've only just done the interim audit. So these numbers, even though we do have them as of 6/30 for this year, they are still subject to a degree of change as we still have a couple weeks of posting into it, and then of course any adjustments if they were to occur from a final audit. So this balance sheet shows at the point of time for the Measure Z fund. It began with a fund balance of $35,797. With the current, we have received most of the assessments from the fiscal year. They usually come in two tranches and maybe a supplemental from the county. So we received about 94% of our budget for the Measure Z assessments, $358,000. Our facility rentals also came in higher than usual at $29,000. And then the expenditures, we did apply the CFD contributions to the parks maintenance. So our actual projected fund balance at this point in time is actually increased by $44,000 to $79,000 at this point in time, but still subject to some potential posting of items. For the revenues, obviously the largest one is the $28 per parcel assessment, of which we received $358,000 out of the $380 estimate. And then the facility rentals at Martin O'Brien Park, specifically field and light rentals, $29,000 out of the initial $12,000 estimate. And Windsong Park is, I believe, the gazebo rental, $85 out of $100 actual. In terms of expenditures, parks maintenance, which is for the general field staff, on staff, $116,000 out of the $130,000 budgeted. Martin O'Brien is, of course, the largest of the parks and has the largest expenditures at $128,041 out of $133,000 budgeted. Heritage Park at $38,000 out of $43,000 budgeted. Windsong is at $41,502 out of a $46,000 budget. Malaga is $1,200 out of $11,000. And we did also have a separate for a CIP 83, our slurry seal program. We did expend in this one time about $18,000 to repave the parking lot as part of our CIP 58-3, our slurry seal, to fix that. So some items to note going forward. The park grounds are scheduled to be fertilized in September, and Martin O'Brien parking lot was, as I mentioned previously, sealed in around June, May or June, and new bark has been installed at Heritage and Windsong Parks, and also Mariachi Night is scheduled for September 19th. And with that, that concludes my reporting of the financials, and I'll be open that for questions, and if Public Works Manager Daniel Torres has any comments, I'll open it up. Thank you.
I'll just start. One question. Looks like the expenditures were good, but there was a big difference in the baby park there, Malaga. 1,200, I think it was, versus 11,000, or I don't remember what it was, but it was a big number. Why the discrepancy?
With Malaga Park, our biggest expenditure there is water. And so being that these plants have mainly been matured, there's no need to continuously now irrigate those. If you've been to the park most recently, you see the hedges and everything pretty much at its mature state. They'll be pretty good at this stage for the next probably 5 years. After that, a lot of these hedges will kind of reach their lifespan, and then we'll start considering possibly replacing sections of those. And so then you'll see an increase within Malaga Park itself. But again, Malaga Park, being that it's mainly DG, mainly that it's bark, plants, vegetation, there's no real expenditures in the sense of there's no signs to replace there. There's trash cans are concrete based, right? So deterioration is really slow on them. And so again, majority of what we see there is drip irrigation costs.
Excellent. That's all I had.
Yeah, I would like to say something, and at the end I may have to ask a question. Wouldn't it be better to, whenever you're presenting the financial statements or balance sheet, you mentioned that this is the revenue and this is the expenditure. So wouldn't it be better to have visuals of all those expenditures that took place during the quarter? For instance, like this was the condition of this area, and we did this, and this much expenditure has taken place, or spent over it, so that we will see the changes. And second is that. Last meeting, I kind of shared, I think, with you to have this financial report printed with us, even shared with us before coming to the meeting, so that we will see, where the revenue comes from and where it goes. I mean, the expenditure. So we'll have the record with us too. And printed as well here with us on our table. So whenever manager is explaining, talking about us, we will see step by step follow that.
Yes, sir.
And the last thing, I'm very sorry. I saw in the revenue, the graph was there. Some of the parks' revenue was pretty low. And one of the parks was there that had high revenue. Any specific reason behind that?
Well, Windsong Park, I believe, only is low because it's only $5 to rent the gazebo. And Marna was higher because we were, I believe, and you're correct, we were fully booked on field rentals for some of the softball leagues. So there is high usage. They booked a lot of those in advance, as I recall.
Yes. So I'll take your comments and questions as listed 1, 2, and 3. So number 1, you stated regarding the financials, right? To actually see the numbers, see how it is generated, and see the report. And so what's presented to you is actually part of what is called the agenda packet. The agenda packet was presented to the committees and to the public breaking that within the staff report. In the staff report, it begins, I believe, on page 9. On page 9 of the staff report, you actually would see those financial numbers going based on the actual who the vendor that's being paid for the services that they're providing. So that is in the staff report. So we do provide that in advance. When it comes to the presentation of then additional like projects and whatnot, right? We actually present that during our annual report. Right. And so what we do is we take what was normal scheduled maintenance and then anything additional, and then we actually show that within the annual report itself. And so that's actually going to be coming up fairly soon. And then lastly, in regards to the revenue, you see the revenue changes and whatnot. So as previously mentioned, I'm not sure if you're a committee member by that time, but the actual fees that are being collected are not to the current market. And so if you were to be a Wildomar resident looking to rent a gazebo at Windsong Park, that is a $5 fee, right? Now, if you take that in comparison to the neighboring agencies, and so that's why when you'll see particular revenues coming in where we're projecting $85 out of $100, right? Well, we're expecting that every one of those is a $5 fee. And so every time we rent out a gazebo, that was $5. And so, so again, it might be a high number of rentals, right? But the fee is so low. Now, if you look at Marno O'Brien has then field hour usage and then field light usage for resident and then non-resident. And so when it comes to Marno O'Brien, a lot of the leagues that are currently utilizing Marno O'Brien Park are non-resident. So we charge them an elevated fee. Right? So they have to pay a premium to use this city's parks. And so what they'll pay is I believe it's $23 per hour in comparison to $15 for a resident. And then it is $35 an hour for lights rather than $15 for lights. And so a significant change. And so being that Marno O'Brien gets the highest utility, gets the highest amount of usage, has the more amenities, right? We have 3 fields, we have 3 gazebos, a breezeway, all that generated revenue. And so that's why you'll see Marno O'Brien at our higher rate. And again, why it has surpassed our actual budget amount.
Okay. But you said the report, the staff report has the figures of revenue and expenditure, you said?
That's correct.
Yeah. So I don't have that staff report with me too.
Okay.
So do I need to have it or?
So it is emailed to you.
No, I haven't received it yet. Maybe for next meeting.
Okay. So yeah, we'll definitely make sure and confirm that you have received that back.
All right. Thank you.
Usually we have the agenda on the website as well as the agenda packet on the website as well.
Okay.
Daniel, I had a question. Due to the revenue, are we looking to up the revenue for the use of the gazebos, fields, and everything, especially with the economy that we're in right now? Because are we even, where are we financially in the area of how much is being spent on maintenance, right? Custodial, field maintenance, and all that, to the use of the facility. You know, Marno O'Brien gets used a lot, right? But even the use of the facility seems to be so high, but the revenue so low. Is there a future in increasing that?
So yes. So I would say yes, that I'll answer your question, and I'll definitely allude more into the finance manager, but I could provide you some real high-level understandings, right? Measure Z was accepted in 2012. It had no escalator to it, and so it will always be per parcel the $28 per parcel. There's no escalator, unlike other now CFDs where they'll have an escalator to continuously go with CPI and the market. Now, with that stated, now fees within usage, right? Again, those fees were established back in 2014 when we opened the park. They have not been adjusted since. So again, they're not to market. Adam would be able to communicate to you that our possible approach of taking a fee study, what that will look like within our time frame. Is it within our foreseeable future, right? But I think that's more what Adam has an understanding more than I do here.
Yeah, I would think that even the $28 per cell per resident, right, could be upped. You know, especially with parks being the attraction of cities, right, like schools. So when somebody moves to the city of Wildomar, it's attracts, you know, the parks and facilities of a park and the schools that attract residents to that area, right?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the city's, you know, how many years old already? I just think that we need to look into that as soon as possible to be able to bring our parks to parks compared to the other cities around us, right?
Yes, committee meeting member Alvarado. You're actually sitting next to Mr. Tim Underdown. He's been a committee member for a while, and he has brought up the same item, right, within revenues, right, in Measure Z. And the concern with Measure Z is that in order to raise the actual fee or the tax, right, it'll have to go back as a measure ballot. So it'll have to go back to the voters agreeing that that would be the approach.
And how do we go about putting that into the ballot?
I would leave that up to the finance manager here.
Well, it's kind of a long process. Usually it starts with a survey to see if the public is even amenable to that. That was how the approach was took in with the other measure, AA. So we'd have to do some analysis, see, because it does cost a decent amount to even just put on the election itself to put it on the ballot. And then, so usually you have to invest in a study first and decide if that's what the amount is to come up with what you think you can ask the reasonable the public will, and then apply that to a ballot. So it's a bit of a lengthy process that, and there can be politics involved with it. So we're kind of looking at that, but there is a big timing component as well.
Because I did see the council meeting that we had, the last council meeting, and I know that there was a special council meeting where residents, including myself, were able to take a survey. And from what I got from the residents in my area where I live, there's a lot of families with kids. I have kids. And that's something that is really sticking to us as a family, to be able to grow our parks, right, in the area, which would mean, you know, looking into raising financial for our parks, right? So I don't know, is that something that we have to take to council or making them, I'm sure they were aware that that's one of the main things that people were asking about.
You mean to raise the fees?
To raise the fees.
Yeah, it would require, well, more than that. It would require, yes, council as well as a vote on the ballot. So it'd have to go on to basically an election ballot in November. So it would be a fairly long process. So we'd have to look into that for a future cycle.
Well, how long, do you have a time that we could see that, or?
I don't have a timeline right now. We haven't made.
As you said, he's been here for a while, and you know, we're like 2014 and 2026. You know, we're gonna, you know, if it takes a long process, you know, how fast can we speed the process, right?
So we don't have a timeline right now. There's a lot of priorities at the city, so I'm not sure where we're at in that. So I'll look into that if that's something on the timeline we're looking to. When we might consider that next.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Okay, I think that's it for questions then. Recommendation is to file the report. We don't need to vote on that, right?
Just the receive and file, please.
We'll file, yeah. Next on the list, Parks Manager's report. Back to Diego.
All right. Good evening, committee members. Okay. So one item, and I think it's a pretty important one. And so we did email to each one of you the park assessments, right? So what Adam has presented tonight is your fourth quarter, right? So if we look at the staff report and look at the financials, it shows you kind of where the money have gone, right? And so what we do at this time is we do ask every committee member to then walk the assets, right? And actually review the parks. And it has a fillable form or you could use by an iPad and whatnot, or your phone, or you could actually print it out and fill it out by hand, up to you. But then it provides us your assessment of how the park status is. And then what we do is then we include that into our annual report. And so we do highly encourage each committee member to take the time, walk these sites. Unfortunately, the weather isn't too pleasant. So if you go early, I think it'll be best. Or if not, you could take a real good late night stroll. Around 6 o'clock, it'll be good. But again, we encourage to have those submitted by September 11th. And with that stated, it summarizes my report.
I had a question on that. I know that I did submit one, but I think it was late, past a couple of days past. But we had a late presentation from you guys, right? So was it not shared with you guys? My report from last year?
We could track that. From what we see, what we were tracking, I couldn't find it. And so I could take a look again, see if.
Because I know I had sent it, but I think it was 2 days late.
Okay.
But even though we were late presenting to us, right? So I just wanted to know that because I know that, we had some residents 2 council meetings ago bring that up as a concern. But, I'm going to take fault for that it wasn't submitted on the date that I said that you guys asked for, but it was submitted like 2 days later. So due to the fact that it was a little bit late, I was hoping it's still going to be presented, right?
Yeah, we could take a look at what happened at that occurrence, but that's why we encourage now that, just a reminder, let's submit it by September 11th, and that in the December Measures E Committee member meeting, we actually will be looking to then begin the annual report process. So it gives you that expanded time. So
Because it's September 11th, right, when it's due?
September 11th, that's correct.
I'll get it on time this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Daniel. Any other future agenda items? No? Okay. Thank you, everyone. With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank you.